Just finished up another small project. It was a gas station actually. It was newly acquired by a larger company, and like a lot of times you'll get work. Is the funny thing is I was out here about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, doing a EV Go project, and it was for another company that I did that for. But once again, your name gets circled around, and you'll get callbacks on different projects. And it's, like I said, it's always good to be able to come back to a project that you've done 6 months, a year ago, a couple of years ago, and see the results of what the project finally came out to be. So I didn't get on here to talk about that. I got on here to talk about some of the current things that have been going on in the drone community overall. We know that DJI is filing a lawsuit. I wish them the best of luck, but the deck is definitely stacked against them. And when you go into a lawsuit of this nature, trying to find fault in the process, or trying to state that someone doesn't have the authority when they're actually part of a government entity, you have to come with the mindset that whatever authority that they need to have, they can easily get it. I watched some other videos where people were trying to explain the FCC's roles, Homeland Security's role, even Customs and Border Patrol's role, as if these entities, agencies, are actually independent of the current administration, or any administration, say like that. This is why the directors or secretaries of these organizations are handpicked by the current president of the United States. And, unless you've been under a rock, we know loyalty is the biggest factor in the current administration. Not about the oath of office, but the loyalty to the current administration is top priority. So that's going to be the first hill they got to overcome. Is someone within the agency going to stand by the oath of office? Are they going to stand by what the agency's supposed to be, and not just to their loyalty to the current administration? Secondly, the track record. Okay, DJI is not the first company to have to go through this process. The other ones didn't fight back because they were pretty much caught after the fact. Yahweh, ZTE, there's a couple other ones out there. So that right there also sets the precedence of these type of cases, to where our courts are going to view, okay, by law, we don't have to wait for the commission of the offense to occur. If we feel we have substantial evidence, which these other cases will act as evidence of malfeasance or spying capabilities of Chinese manufacturers, because that's the way our government's going to look at it. That's why they put out that December 22nd thing banning all foreign drones, period. So they anticipate lawsuits like this coming. They can say, we're not going to wait for people to become bad actors. We're going to cut everyone off at the pass and let the military and Homeland Security be the future judge, jury, and executioner on what drones may be allowed to come in from foreign entities. Okay? So like I said, I wish DJI the best of luck. Best of luck. I hope those who work within our agencies uphold their oath of office and treat their loyalty to the administration as secondary, because, we as a community are being harmed. Other businesses are being harmed, and the industry as a whole may take decades to recover. Now, we know that American companies are definitely filling the gap in certain areas, especially when it comes to law enforcement efforts. Skydio, Brink, and a few others are scooping up local municipality contracts like Skittles. And people even trying to argue, why are they spending taxpayers' money? Well, like I tell them, I said, people, you're talking about elected officials. No one wants to be caught or be responsible for mishandling tax dollars. That's public money on a product that may not be accessible in the near future. We all know, hands down, it is hard to beat or even compete with DJI, but if the way the current trend is legislatively, DJI is on a very, very, very short leash. And people talk about, oh, their drones will last 5, 6, 7 years. That's not what it's all about. When you're a municipality of your township, your city, or even your state, and you're talking about tens of thousands, and some are spending millions of dollars, and people think, oh, that's too much for a drone. It's not just a drone they're buying. They're buying the drone itself, the actual drone. They're buying the other computer technology to work with that drone to be a first responder type scenario. And they're buying into a service contract. All that adds into that cost factor. So when you're talking about, DJI builds a better product, no argument, hands down, DJI's got everybody beat. But if DJI is unable to supply behind the scenes service, they can't supply accessory parts, repairs, they cannot bring forth computer systems that will help these systems operate for first responders, then they're dead in the water. They can't even compete because they cannot guarantee or offer that type of service. And that's what a lot of people, I try to explain to them. I said, you guys are thinking small-minded. In other words, you're thinking checkers when Skydio's playing chess. And this is when you talk about using public funds, this is what you got to be critical of. It's not always about buying the best item out there. Most municipalities have we call it a 3-bid system. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, the lowest bidder gets the deal. That's in government contracts all along. So Skydio, which has no real competition, especially from foreign companies now, they can charge what they want to charge. Brings to other competition. So basically, you got 2 corporations out there, and it's kind of funny that we heard a lot about some of these other manufacturers out there, but my whole thing on those people that were out there building these heavy lift drones and everything else they were advertising they can be, their business model was very weak. Many of them could not produce or mass produce enough drones to satisfy a contract deal. Many of them do not have these service systems to back up the drone itself. They're talking about using open source software. I said, that's not secure. Open source, just like in the title, it's open source. That means it has the capability or lack of ability of securing things. When you're talking about all the stuff that goes into these contracts, you're talking about all the data that has to be secured in certain servers. All that has to be added into the cost of these contracts that Skydio and Brinks are getting. And right now, DJI is unable to support those efforts. So that is why you're hearing all these things from, no matter if it's a red state or blue state or whatever the case may be, taxpayer money is taxpayer money. Okay? Everybody pays into the kitty. So you want to make sure that those elected officials that you voted for in your community is spending your tax dollars as wisely as possible and not just hoping for, well, maybe DJI may come back. Well, maybe down the road this will happen. I tell people all the time, I said, people said the same thing about ZTE and Yahweh. Maybe in a couple of years they'll be back on the market. And like I always say, yeah, you can still get a phone from them, but you won't be buying that phone from AT&T. You won't be buying that phone from Verizon. You won't be getting it from mobile. You'll be buying it third party, black market, whatever the case may be, and you can take your SIM chip out of your current phone and put it in one of those phones. But basically, they have been shut out of the regular market because they got their hands caught in the cookie jar. So like I said, the crime doesn't have to be committed. It is just the potential of the aspect of the crime that can be committed is going to be the government's standing point, that we don't have to wait for them to become bad actors. We want to cut them off before they act badly. So once again, this is Dre with Cover One Drones. I will be on this Sunday doing my regular podcast. I apologize missing last week. February just messes with your head because last week was only the 21st and I was thinking I had another week to go. So I will see you guys on Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. I think that'll make it around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So like I say, this is Dre with Cover One Drones. Looking forward to talk with you guys. Later.